point that I wanted to talk about in public a little bit. But I wanted to say, with regard to the distinction between transracial and transsexual, but this also relates to your point about there being no discussion. There was a young woman. She was either a new PhD or she was a graduate student about to get her PhD. A young, serious woman getting a PhD or just having gotten a PhD in philosophy. So she wrote a very serious scholarly paper questioning why is it okay that men can become women, but a white woman can't become a black woman. And she wrote this in a serious scholarly journal. Like, from a philosophical standpoint, what is the difference between these two cases? And she was just trashed to hell by other philosophers. I mean, they trashed her. That because she just raised the question of how are these two cases different? A white woman who wants to be black, a white man who wants to be a white woman. So I just wanted to point
to her.
At some point, some doctors, presumably predominantly male, decided that it was okay to allow men to invade, colonize womanhood, and that was an acceptable treatment. And women weren't consulted if that was an acceptable treatment or not. And so consequently, because of this decision and because of this normalizing by professionals, and I'm not attacking you personally. I hope you don't take it that way. But, teachers, counselors, therapists have all jumped onto this as being an acceptable thing to do. And as a result, we have children being groomed and being told and confused in kindergarten, first grade, that they could be perhaps born in the wrong body, or they could change sex, which I'm presuming you don't believe that you can change sex. You have women being raped and sexually harassed in prisons and in shelters for women, which were set up initially because of male violence. And male violence has not lessened or become less heinous. You have men taking positions for women in sports, positions, scholarships, and trophies and money from women because women, the spots are being taken up by male-bodied individuals. So I think that the professions have to take some responsibility and not compartmentalize their theory and what that theory has done in real life to 51% of the population. And it's international. It's all over the world. I hear from women in Mexico. I hear from women all over the world that this has caused serious problems. And we're not allowed to even question this method of treatment of something that is a delusion and a fetish.
First place, I want to make my position clear. Am I in favor of gender transition for children? Absolutely not. I'm not even in favor of parents being pressured to let their kids transition socially, because I think that once a kid has transitioned socially and the school has thrown him a party and they've had cake and confetti and whatnot, I think it becomes very hard for the kid to walk back this, forget it. Actually, I decided I really didn't want to be a girl.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as far as children go, I'm on the same page as everybody else who says children should not be transitioned, except I would even say children should not be transitioned socially, because I don't see that as some neutral holding pattern. I see that as something that contributes towards locking in a kid towards a transgender pathway.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me make that clear.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of my best friends, Ken Zucker, used to be the head of a child and adolescent gender identity clinic at the CAMH in Toronto, where I live. And he was not opposed to all forms of transition. His position with regard to children and adolescents was simply, The first line of attack clinically is to help the child or adolescent accept their anatomic sex. If that doesn't work, then eventually transition can be considered. For taking that attitude that it's not affirmation first, he was fired from his job at the CAMH. So
Doesn't that